Okay, so I kneaded for about 3 more minutes just to get this dough a little bit firmed up. And I'm feeling like we're at a pretty good point. What I'm looking for is being able to stick my finger into the dough without it getting stuck, without it coming away dirty. I've got a lot of dough on my hand already, but I can tell that no more dough is getting picked up. And it's springing back, so you can hopefully you can see that. So it does not mean that we're done kneading. What that means is that we need to do 8 more minutes of kneading. So I read this really terrific book. Oh, let me get it. Just 1 second. Here we go. This is The Essentials of Classic Italian Cooking by Marcella Hazan. I love this cookbook, and it has a terrific section about making handmade pasta. So if you're interested, check out this book. But she explains that you get the dough to like this point that I was saying, where you can stick your finger into it and it will spring back and it won't get stuck. And then you need to clean your surface and knead for 8 more minutes. Okay, so all I've done is clean up my work surface. I think what's important about that is you're getting all those little dried bits of flour that were getting stuck to your counter or to your mat. You're getting those cleaned up so that as you finish up kneading your dough, you're not getting those hard bits stuck in it. You still will probably need to put a little bit more flour in as you're kneading, but at this point you want to take a look at the clock and really go for a solid 8 minutes. You can go longer, if you really want. I probably won't, but you can go a little longer, but you do want to give it a good 8 minutes. Get a little bit of flour here. It's a little tacky, it's not as sticky as it was, but it's not really, it is getting a little bit stuck to my hand. It's not really smooth, which is what you're going for, and that takes a little bit of time. You're developing the gluten in the dough. You're hydrating the flour, which is kind of interesting to think about. Obviously flour is super dry. The eggs have provided the moisture, but it's going to take a little while for those particles of flour to really absorb the moisture. So again, I'm just kind of picking up. I don't want to add too much flour. You could end up with a dough that's drier than you'd like. I'm sure it will still taste good. And that's kind of the beauty of this, is that it's, it's pretty forgiving. It's going to taste good pretty much no matter what. But it's nice to get the texture that you like, smooth and with, easy to roll out and things like that. So we'll get there. So I've got like 7 minutes to go, and that would be pretty boring YouTube video. So I'm going to stop the camera. And I promise I will do a full 7 more minutes, and then I'll be back. Okay, I wanted to show you what the dough looks like. I wish you could feel it, but after the solid 8 minutes, it is nice and soft. It's not sticking to me at all, and it seems really just like really smooth and glossy. So you really want to work your dough until it is like that. And again, just to show you a little bit more up close what the kneading looks like, I'm pushing down my heel, and then I'm pulling the furthest part away, pushing it into the middle of the dough, pushing it in with my heel, and then I'm rotating it. I'm not picking up any flour. I haven't been picking up any new flour for a while now because it really is, I think it really is ready. Okay, so that the dough is all kneaded. So once your dough has been kneaded that 8 minutes and feels good, then we want it to rest. So we wrap it tightly in some plastic wrap. And we want it to rest because kneading the dough has created gluten. And gluten is what gives dough strength, which is great until you try to roll out the dough. And you may have had this experience when you've tried to roll out a pizza and it's shrunk right back down and you have like this little 6-inch pizza and you're like, no, I want a larger pizza. That's what would happen if you tried to roll out this pasta dough right now. So we want it to rest, room temperature, half an hour, 45 minutes. You could put it in the fridge, pull it out later in the day, let it warm up maybe a half an hour before you knead it. Before you roll it out. I've also had good experience throwing it in the freezer and using it within a week or so. Some books recommend against that, but I've done it and the pasta's been fine. So we're gonna let this rest. I'm gonna clean up in here and then I'm gonna show you how you can roll out the dough.